Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. I've been wearing glasses since I'm about 4 years old. And my let's see, my right eye or left eye? My left eye, the back of my eyeball is flat. I don't know what that means. I don't give a fuck what it means. But anyway, I've been wearing glasses since I'm 4 years old. And and I have the kind of whatever is wrong with my eyes that you can't fix with surgery. And it was probably the single most item that I got in fights with in school over being four eyes. And and then when I came back from Europe after the Korean War in grade school, it's because I spoke with a French accent. So they forgot that I was four eyes, but that I was froggy then. And of course, frogs are the one of the symbols of the QLA because you have to kiss a lot of frogs. But all my, not adult, but all my adolescent life, about that age, I was getting in fights. And now, some of you in this room have never been in a fisticuff. And that's part of the reason why you are the way you are. You know, and some of you, and I've already said ad nauseum that your parents treated you, you know, I like my best analogy to me, but it doesn't necessarily resonate, is that when you get your first two-wheel bike, you have trainer wheels on it normally. You know, those little chicken shit things on the side. And you ride the trainer wheels. Then one day you say, hey, mom, dad, big brother, big sister, you know, I want to ride the bike without the trainer wheels. And you're doing what happens, you fall over on your big fucking head. And then your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent, who run over there and say, oh, poor Johnny, Sally. And unfortunately, they normally put the fucking trainer wheels back on. And that's why you are the way you are. Through an act of, ostensibly an act of love, because they don't want you to be hurt. That's the theory. They made you a cunt. And my dad didn't like this example that I give about now, while he was still, before he passed away. But I used to run out in the street all the time in front of cars. And so my dad said, well, back up a second. I had a boxer named Duke who would attack anybody on a bicycle. He would attack lawnmowers. And in my neighborhood, we didn't have power lawnmowers, but push lawnmowers, you know. They still have push lawnmowers, don't they? Yeah. Anyway, and so my dad ran over him with a bike a couple times, and he never attacked the bike again. So using that same thought process, he said, well, I'll fix Danny. He won't run out in front of cars anymore. So he decided, we had an old Willys, which was looked like kind of World War II Jeep. And Willys was made by Jeep Corporation. And in those days, they had real metal and real chrome as opposed to the synthetic stuff that they make cars of now. And he said, well, I'm going to bump Danny with a car a couple of times, knock him down, and I'll cure him of running out in front of cars. And the old Willys had a piece of chrome that was slightly detached on the runner board, because we used to have runner boards where you can stand on, you know, next to the door. And what he didn't know is the piece of chrome was sticking out. And so when he hit me, he hooked underneath my kneecap, went right through my leg, and he drugged me. My mother standing off camera, screaming. But she screamed a lot when he was beating me or whatever. And he just was driving along in his Willys, and I'm screaming as well. That's how I was raised. To this day, I don't step out in the street. I nudge Sally to go in front of the cars. To this day. And look at you. That's just one of 50 examples I can give. We had a dog that, this is before I have any remembrance of this. While we were still living in Florida after I was born, in Jacksonville, Florida, at the naval base, there was the dog of the company commander, base commander, lived not too far from us. And so he would come down and he would he'd be attracted by the white bassinets. Bassinet, the thing that they put a kid in. And he used to jump up and lick my face and then the dog disappeared. And the company commander or the base commander's maid and cook and driver going up and down the streets looking for the dog. The dog was gone. Legend has it, my dad put him in a gunny sack and drowned him. Legend has it. My dad was afraid that he would tip me over and look at you. I can give you, not 1,000, that would be a Trump exaggeration, but I can give you hundreds of examples like that. I don't like the example about drowning the dog. So I like to believe that's a myth. But that's not the only dog that disappeared. A couple of our dogs, allegedly, were given away to farmers. We didn't have any farmers where we lived. The closest farm to East LA is 100 miles. And I know my dad is going to spend gas 100 miles to go give one of our aggressive dogs away. And I can go on and on and on. I wasn't raised with this in mind, and either were you. Kids aren't programmed for success. But some kids are. The Williams sisters, who, the younger one, well, I guess the older one already retired, but she just retired. And she's from Torrance, California. The hood, Torrance, California. And there, in fact, Will Smith just got an Academy Award when he slapped that guy, but not for slapping the guy, but he got an Academy Award for playing their father, who I knew. And Tiger was programmed for success from the beginning. I knew his father too, from Torrance, California, the hood. And he was a superstar in the making from when he was that age, being on it was before Johnny Carson, whatever the night program was. And what about you? Nothing, right? They were lucky at that age you didn't shit your pants. And then a couple years ago, allegedly one of the greatest comebacks. We do not what our parents tell us to do. We do what we see our parents do. We have a father-son team in here. The good news is we have a father-son team in here. The bad news is we have a father-son team in here. The odds are not 1,000 million against the father-son team working out, but they're certainly not in favor of a father-son team working out. We've had the rare father, daughter, mother, son. We've had a few over the years, but so few I can't remember their names. Just as husband, wife, brothers, etc. But occasionally it does work out. But you weren't programmed. Josh was programmed. You're getting the message here because you still don't have the message. The odds are against you. Even if I did your first deal with you and then I left you alone, the odds are still against you. Homeschooled, 1 of 10. I'm sure this is on YouTube. 2-3 years ago, Sal and I went at Christmas time, because I still didn't believe it, even though he was rich by this time. We wanted to go meet his parents, and they live in outside Washington, D.C. His dad was a military officer at the Pentagon, if I remember correctly. And we went there, and it was like, for those of you that are old enough, Father Knows Best, where the family's perfect and everybody's, hi, I'm home, honey. How was your day? Nah, nah, nah. And the kids are doing homework and that kind of shit, okay? Well, we went to the house, and it was like Father Knows Best. I sat there in the living room. The 17-year-old was tutoring the 16 and 14-year-old. The 13-year-old was tutoring. That down to the little one that, and then they had a pet rabbit that went and shit on the floor. And the 4-year-old took one of those portable vacuum cleaners and went and vacuumed the little poop up from the rabbit. And then put the vacuum by the fireplace. Like, what the fuck? I must be dreaming. This is not real. And Mrs. Kim had just had her 10th kid, and she was breastfeeding the kid. And showing me around the house that she's breastfeeding. This is not possible. So we go back to Hay Adams. We're staying at the Hay Adams, Washington, D.C. And Sally and I are in a limo, and they're following us. And I said, Sally, what do you think? She said, I've never seen anything like this. This is not real. This is central casting. This is, they hire these people. So we get to the restaurant, and this is a white glove, tail, tuxedo kind of restaurant. And Mrs. Kim is breastfeeding her goddamn kid in the restaurant. And I know you can breastfeed in public now, but not in this fucking restaurant. And we told them, I said, we can't believe what we saw. And I asked 2 of the kids, just like at my 70th birthday, when they asked, does Dan really like this? I asked 2 of the kids separately, cornered them, and asked them, what the fuck's the deal here? And other than I don't think they ever heard the word fuck before. They said, no. In fact, Dad said, act normal. But he was programmed. And guess what? Multimillionaire as a teenager. Kobe Bryant, unfortunately, dead now, was programmed as a kid. His dad was a professional basketball player, and he was training his daughter. And they both died tragically in that air accident a few years ago. So there are people that are programmed for success, just not you. Or nor hardly anybody that's ever come through the seminar, except for Josh Kim and a few others. So this isn't impossible. And I remember meeting Josh at 17. He says, I've been looking I can't even say it without laughing and crying. I've looked all my life for the right mentor. He's 17, right? I've wasted all these 17 years. Now, we all know this, being 17, it's not like you wasted your life, right? But that's how he thought. Now, I was programmed in a different way. I took dancing lessons. I've already said part of this. Ballroom dancing lessons in the hood, free, at Arthur Murray's. And then we went to $10 a month. And $10 a month was more money than my mother could afford. $10 a month, ballroom dancing. I took golf lessons free at Wilson Park for free. Nobody played golf in the hood. I took tennis lessons. Nobody played tennis in the hood. They allowed me to believe in Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, and the Tooth Fairy. My cousins that are still alive said Dan was 19 years old and still believed in Santa Claus. Well, that's a slight exaggeration, but not much of an exaggeration. And probably one of the most important things is they didn't speak their native language in the house because they didn't want me to speak Spanish with an accent. English with an accent. She speaks with an accent. Nothing wrong with that. But my parents didn't want me to speak with an accent. When I was born with blue eyes, my mother thought that all her birthdays came at once because I was güero. She was right. I was the only blue-eyed Mexican in the hood. The only. And I was embarrassed that I couldn't speak Spanish. And my mother read the book by Dr. Benjamin Spock, by Serendipity, and raised me. And Mrs. Kim, Josh's mother, had done her master's thesis on that book. And last but not least, I wasn't allowed to listen to anything but classical music. Beethoven, Mozart, Chopin, Tchaikovsky. So here I am, an 8, 9, 10-year-old in the hood, listening to fucking Beethoven. And what were you doing? So in my mother's little way, that's what she was programmed. She didn't know if she was programming me for success, but she was. And she was, My dad was gone most of the time between 0 and 8 years old. And that's when you build self-esteem. So you're the anomaly because today parents allegedly are more intelligent and they understand child rearing better, but they don't. They don't. You have to make sacrifices. And for those of you that have kids, I said already 3 or 4 times, if they're past 8 or 9, forget it. Unless they're very, very immature, then you can maybe still have influence over them until they're 10, 11, 12. But for the most part, you might as well shit them, put them down the shitter. That's my grandson. Future legend. And then we got you. Again. But it's not too late. Day after tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. Day after tomorrow. I checked to make sure this was the penultimate day, because I asked you yesterday what day we were. If you want it to be the first day of the rest of your life. For those of you that don't want it to be, then you'll just go back to default. And and I'm not suggesting you use QLA just a little. But even if you use it just a little, you're going to be better off. Financially. I don't know if you'll be much better off emotionally. But some of you, as Sally would say, they all want the money, but hardly anybody wants to sacrifice. And after you've seen the first 3 nights, the guys that are basically assholes, I'll get around to Ballmer later, basically assholes, you still want the money, but you still, you would like to be, or most of you don't want to be an asshole. Most of you want to be loved, cherished, hugged, and which has nothing to do with being successful in accumulating wealth, and especially in accumulating generational wealth. And generational wealth, depending on who you talk to, a generation is 20 to 25 years. Now they say it's been compressed. Now generation is 15 to 20 years, but I don't believe that. It's about 20 years. So I've been doing this one full generation plus, and now I'm getting the kids of the guys that I trained, like the Carlines, and the brothers and the sisters, and even the mothers and fathers of the kids that I trained. Steve Ballmer, who I don't know, alpha male, spoke at Oxford. First time, even by his own admission, he went through 40 or 50 minutes without saying fuck, because he knew he was going to be on the YouTube forever. I said fuck twice at Oxford. I turned, I'm not supposed to say that. See, you already did, sir. So then the second, but I already said it twice. Takeaways from Mr. Ballmer's talk. Yes, Doc.
He really didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but his presentation skills were absolutely fantastic. Super energy, enthusiasm, and he had supreme confidence. And that's what made him, or allowed him to sell his dream with Microsoft. And he's a billionaire out of it.
And he didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't know anything about, he didn't spreadsheet his products. When he bought the Clippers, Los Angeles Clippers, for $2.2 billion, and by the way, he is now, last time I checked, the largest shareholder of Microsoft. He has more shares than Bill. I think he was the 8th or 9th employee, something like that. And you can sell anything if you're enthusiastic. Most of you that have been through sales courses, they emphasize product knowledge. That's horseshit. That's absolute horseshit. There are thousands of people that I've sold in my career that don't know what the fuck they bought from me. They don't even know what they bought from me. They just wanted to buy from me. They have no clue. But they wanted to be on my bus, as Oprah would say. Now, it's rare that we've ever had anybody in 29 plus years that has come through the program that has that level of sales skills. You're going to hear one of them tomorrow, Thomas McGuire from Canada. They don't know what the fuck they bought from Thomas. They don't have a clue. All they know is when he stopped jumping up and down like a jumping jack, and he put the paper in front of them, they signed. His presentation skills are extraordinary. His communication skills are very, very good. And his sales skills, that combination makes his sales skills, rarely seen in a guy that young. I have better skills, but I've been doing this a long, long time. But you rarely see somebody at that age that has that finesse, as the French would say, that je ne sais quoi, that special fucking sauce, to be able to get people to sign. He's the king of DocuSign. I didn't know what DocuSign was, but he's the king of it during Corona. And normally, I could never figure out what I was signing for in DocuSign. All I knew is I had the signature block. Okay? So I don't know what the fuck I was buying or signing. Comments about Mr. Ballmer? Anything else? Yes, sir, in the back.
A few things in the beginning he mentioned is find something you love and have passion for, have a positive attitude and stay away from negative people. And you always have to be growing, getting stronger and moving forward, because when you stop, that's when things start to regress.
That's why we say run towards the gunfire. Number one, it's harder to hit a moving target. And two, you don't have time to think when you're running. Or I should say, you don't have time to think, overthink. And most of you in this room, overthink. And the questions that you ask, you're overthinking. And I told one or two of you yesterday in the private time, I might have mentioned it during the seminar, 95% of the questions asked in the seminar, I've been doing this 51 and a half years, I've never encountered. Never encountered. And they're at the top of your list. And if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. The 17, 18-minute exit interview Josh gave 2-3 years ago when he was here for his 21st birthday. And he said, and he was already very successful, and he said, as Mr. Peña said, 95% of the things I worried about never happened. Never happened. And now you heard 4 people that have told you, that have said, they didn't tell you, they have said their success is not attributable to their product knowledge, because they had none. Yet you especially, you can't do that. Many of you fall in the same category as Mr. PhD real estate over here. Like the nymph. Remember, there's only 25 or 30 phrases that you need to know to put together to be a billionaire. None of which has anything to do with product knowledge. None. I'm going to say again, none of which has anything to do with product knowledge. So when they send you the big pamphlets, and they don't have pamphlets, everything's digital now. Well, when they send you the keys, all I want is the summary. What is it supposed to do? I don't even give a fuck if it doesn't really. What is it supposed to, allegedly, supposedly, ostensibly, theoretically, what the fuck's this thing supposed to do? And that's it. That's all I need to know. And the more you delve into the finite parts of product sales, normally the worst sales effort you put forth. And again, you want that detail because of insecurities, innate insecurities, and all the things that have been beaten to death. for 3+ days. What else about Mr. Ballmer? Yes, sir, in the back.
Yes, sir. He mentioned more than once that an industry to look into for the future is healthcare.
Duh. And one of the three legs of the stool for Amazon going forward is healthcare. Duh. But at least one of you is going to go into some esoteric thing that the chances of success are slim and none, and slim left town. At least one of you is going to go into something esoteric that the chances of success are slim and none, and slim left town. Because you can't help yourself. What else about Mr. Ballmer? He's the only alpha male that you see, or that I illustrate via a film. But they're few and far between alpha males out in the real world. And in the beginning, when I started this 29 years ago, and if you think I'm alpha now, 30 years ago, I was an animal. I mean, a real animal. And I've calmed down now a little. Sally says I've calmed down a lot. But the people were turned off by the QLA process because, I can't be Dan. And people have not been turned off vis-a-vis Josh. They think Josh is Michelangelo. A prodigy. I'm not a prodigy. I'm not Michelangelo. And then, for almost every superstar that I've had in the last almost 30 years, not you, but the collective universe of you has come up with a reason why you can't be them. You heard the Goomba brother, the gangster, Tony, say, you'll come up with a fucking reason, okay? And you will. Not necessarily on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. And then part of that subconscious level, like the pig fucker. Well, I don't, do I want to be that kind of person for, that kind of wealth? And your subconscious, based on all the training, all the nourishing, all the mom bullshit, says no. And so then you engage in self-sabotaging activity and you step on your dick once after another after another. You said yesterday, how in the fuck did that guy set up that company where he only had a third? Remember? And how did he do that? You said it out loud. Well, everybody in the room was thinking it. Well, I'm here to tell you it happens all the time. Even though I tell you, as long as you keep 50.1%, I can pretty much assure you through the first board meeting, you won't get thrown out. I say that a gazillion times, don't I? But our little friend, but he had some comfort zone because he inherited from his grandmother, God rest her soul, 500,000 pounds. So he didn't feel the pressure that some of you that are living out of the back of your car, the boot is the trunk here, with your boot, and you're going to the YMCA to do sponge baths. Like I did. And it's not so romantic going to the YMCA when you're not a member in Manhattan to take a shower. But you give the guy, the towel guy, you give him $20. Not in one time because I didn't have $20. I gave him $4 $5 bills over a month to allow me to take a shower. How bad do you want it? I lived at 27th and Lexington in a place called the Bedbug because the cockroaches were about this size. And we got a steak sandwich and a platter of French fries and a beer for $6.45. Big steak sandwich. And it was special on Tuesday and Thursday. But if the cooks and the barmaids liked you, they could get it every night. And that was as good a meal as I could get for $6. And I left 55-cent tip. Big tipper I was. I didn't have any money. Then I go back to the bed bug. And at 27th and Lexington, it's not there anymore. But when we're in New York, I have the driver drive by and I look, you know. And the top 3 or 4 floors were hookers, lived there. 5, 6 girls in a room. Because the room rent at that time was about a little less than $800 a month. What else about Mr. Ballmer, if anything? Okay, YouTube.